The psychology of quietly escaping the rat race. The death of the loud exit. Imagine a stickman named Joe. It is 8 a.m. on a Monday morning in the year 2026. Joe is sitting in his car, gripped by the familiar, cold dread of the morning commute. In the previous decade, the script for escaping was loud. People posted videos of themselves dramatically quitting their jobs, burning bridges, and announcing to the world that they were following their passion. But as Joe performs a forensic audit of his surroundings, he realizes that the Great Resignation was just a surface ripple. In the deep currents of the 2026 economy, the loud exit has been replaced by something far more calculated and far more lethal to the corporate hierarchy: the quiet escape. Joe isn't going to storm into his boss's office. He isn't going to post a viral video. In fact, Joe is the perfect employee. He meets his deadlines, he answers emails within 15 minutes. He even smiles during the 3 p.m. strategy sync. But inside Joe's mind, he has already left. He is part of a global, invisible movement of millions who have realized that the traditional success script, the one involving 30 years of climbing a frozen ladder for a pension that may never materialize, is architecturally broken. Our audit of the global psychological landscape reveals that this isn't just laziness or quiet quitting. It is a sophisticated defensive response to the big freeze of the labor market and the fiscal drag of the tax system. According to reports from John Rector and Deloitte, younger generations like Millennials and Generation Z are fundamentally rethinking the role of work in their lives. They are encountering the NPO generation reality from South Korea, where youth have given up on 10 specific life goals, including homeownership and marriage, because the cost of entry is simply too high. They are watching the Tang or lying flat movement in China, where workers are rejecting the 996 work culture, working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, in favor of a low-desire life. Joe has looked at the math of 2026. He sees that housing in major cities now costs 15 times the average household income. He sees that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, OBBBA, uses phase-outs to harvest the success tax from anyone who tries to climb too high. Joe has decided that the only way to win the game is to stop playing by the rules of the house. Today, we are performing a surgery on the exit psychology. We are going to look at the architecture of the invisible bridge, why soft saving has replaced aggressive fire for 73% of Generation Z, and why the most dangerous person in your office is the stickman who has already escaped in his mind while his body is still sitting at the desk. The global low-desire virus and the rat people of 2026. To understand Joe's internal exit, we must perform a forensic audit of the global youth malaise. In the year 2026, we are witnessing a phenomenon that sociologists have termed the global low-desire virus. It started in East Asia as a survival mechanism against extreme competition, but it is now cross-pollinated into the Western middle class. In Japan, this is the reality of the Satori Generation. Joe reads reports showing that 65.8% of Japanese men and 51.8% of women in their 20s currently have no romantic partner. These aren't just incels or social outcasts. They are stickmen who have enlightened themselves to the fact that the cost of the traditional family script, the wedding, the house, the children, is a debt trap they refuse to enter. They prioritize personal hobbies and online communities, living a life that is small in consumption but large in autonomy. In China, the audit becomes even more extreme. The Tang movement has evolved into the rat people trend. According to our data, while youth unemployment in China hit a record 21.3%, the remaining employed youth began posting videos of themselves literally lounging in bed for 83 consecutive days. These rat people celebrate doing nothing. They aren't looking for a career ladder, they are looking for the exit. They reject the 996 work culture because they have calculated that even with a promotion, they still cannot afford a home in a city like Seoul, where housing now costs 15 times the average household income. This sentiment has now infected the American workforce. Our audit shows that 85% of U.S. adults across all age groups now approve of moving to a 4-day workweek. The Great Resignation of the previous years has matured into a permanent psychological strike. People are no longer quitting to find a better job. They are quiet quitting to find a better life. They do exactly what is required to keep their benefits and not a single task more. The system, as we analyzed in our Big Freeze audit, responded by freezing entry-level hiring and using AI to absorb the work of the quiet quitters. But this has only reinforced the loop. Joe sees that the door to the corner office is locked, so he has stopped knocking. He has realized that in the barbell economy of 2026, the middle of the corporate ladder is a harvesting zone. The architecture of the invisible bridge and soft saving. If Joe has mentally checked out of the rat race, where is he going? Our forensic audit reveals he is building an invisible bridge. This bridge is constructed from two primary psychological components: soft saving and architectural minimalism. According to a Deloitte global survey, 73% of Generation Z would choose a better quality of life today over more money in the bank tomorrow. This has led to the rise of soft saving. Unlike the aggressive FIRE movement of the 2010s, which required starving yourself for a decade to reach a number, soft saving is a strategy of moderate sovereignty. Joe isn't trying to reach $3 million to retire at 40. He has looked at the OBBBA phase-out schedules and realized that reaching a high net worth often triggers a success tax that harvests his gains through modified adjusted gross income traps. Instead, Joe aims for the silent alarm threshold of $20,000 and then focuses on lowering his carry cost of existence. Joe's exit psychology is built on the realization that being broke costs more than being rich. Through our audit of the poverty premium, Joe knows that families in the lowest income brackets pay an extra £380 or dollars a year for essentials because they lack the liquidity to buy in bulk or switch energy providers. By building a modest, tactical buffer, Joe avoids these small bites of the system. Furthermore, Joe has embraced environmental minimalism. He understands that individuals who adopt minimalist behaviors have a 23% smaller carbon footprint. In 2026, this isn't just about saving the planet, it's about strategic immobility. By owning fewer physical anchors, no car payment, no forever home wealth prison, and no luxury logo taxes, Joe becomes architecturally invisible to the system's harvesting algorithms. The invisible bridge allows Joe to live on half his salary while working a job he doesn't love. He uses the other half to fund a bridge account, a taxable brokerage account designed to cover his lean expenses until he can access traditional retirement funds. He is no longer a slave to the hiring manager. He has used the smart order of operations to buy back his time, one paycheck at a time. Joe's quiet escape is the ultimate pattern interrupt. While the corporate machine expects him to be hungry for a promotion, Joe is satisfied with enough. He has decoupled his self-worth from his salary. The rat race verdict: from task executor to systemic supervisor. To successfully complete a quiet escape, Joe must understand the fundamental shift in the value of human labor. Our forensic audit of the labor market in 2026 shows that the traditional career path, the one where you start as a junior and learn the ropes, is being systematically dismantled. Experts at Yale and the New York Federal Reserve have observed that computer science majors now face higher unemployment rates, ranging from 7.0 to 7.8%, which is significantly higher than humanities majors. The success script of the past decade told Joe to become a specialist in a technical task. But in the year 2026, task execution is a commodity with a price approaching zero. As agentic AI scales, the nature of work inside firms is moving from human effort to machine assistance, specifically from task automation to workflow automation. Companies like ServiceNow and Salesforce are already handling roughly half of their customer interactions and administrative inquiries through autonomous agents. Joe's verdict on the rat race is simple. You cannot win a race against a machine that doesn't sleep and costs 3 cents an hour to operate. To escape, Joe must move from being a task executor to a systemic supervisor. A systemic supervisor is a stickman who understands the architecture of the workflow rather than the syntax of the task. While the AI can draft a legal motion or analyze a credit risk memo with 20 to 60% productivity gains, it still requires a human to exercise judgment, reasoning, and exception handling. This is Joe's new hull of sovereignty. He uses the Big Freeze, where companies have stopped hiring entry-level workers, as his cover to stop competing for junior status and start positioning himself as the supervisor of the agents that replaced the juniors. By adopting the Satori mindset, an enlightened resignation from the traditional ladder, Joe avoids the age pay gap trap. Our audit shows that this gap, the difference in earnings between workers under 35 and those over 55, has widened by more than 60%. Instead of struggling to close that gap through more effort, Joe focuses on strategic immobility. He uses his current desk as a funded research lab to build his own agentic stack, preparing for the moment his invisible bridge is ready for him to cross. The Sovereignty Protocol and the Final Audit. Joe is now ready to implement the final stage of the quiet escape. He has checked out mentally, re-skilled as a systemic supervisor, and lowered his desire for status symbols. Now, he must secure his physical sovereignty. Step 1. Neutralizing the poverty premium. Joe knows that being broke costs more than being rich. According to the latest research from Fair by Design, the average poverty premium has risen to £380, or approximately $480 per year in 2026. Joe avoids this by building a tactical buffer. By having enough liquidity to pay for his car insurance annually rather than monthly, he saves an average of £71. By avoiding prepayment energy meters, he saves £129. These small wins are the bricks of his invisible bridge. Step 2. The Bridge Account Strategy. Joe implements what the money guy experts call the Bridge Account Protocol. Because the system wants to lock his capital in age-restricted buckets like a 401k until he is 59.5, Joe prioritizes a taxable brokerage account. This is his Exit Velocity Fund. By following the smart order of operations, Joe ensures he has his $1,000 starter emergency fund and his $20,000 silent alarm before aggressively funding the bridge. This account allows him to retire from the rat race at 45 instead of 65, bridging the gap between his early exit and his official retirement benefits. Step 3. Leveraging the OBBBA floor. Joe audits his charitable and tax strategies under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. He uses the new $1,000 universal deduction for non-itemizers to shield his income while maintaining a lean AGI. By keeping his modified adjusted gross income low through HSA contributions, which have risen to $8,750 for families in 2026, Joe ensures he doesn't trigger the success tax phase-outs that target high-engagement workers. The sign-off. The rat race of 2026 is a game of musical chairs where the music is controlled by an algorithm. Most people are running faster and faster, hoping the music never stops. But Joe has already sat down. He has embraced the Tang reality. He works enough to fund his bridge, consumes enough to sustain his health, and desires nothing that the system uses to keep him in debt. True wealth in the 2026 economy is not a high salary. It is low burn and high optionality. It is the ability to walk into a room and know that you don't need anything from anyone in it. Don't be the stickman who screams at the system while being crushed by it. Be the stickman who quietly builds his vault, secures his bridge, and disappears into sovereignty before the loop closes. Build your buffer, fund your bridge, and quietly escape the race. If this forensic audit of the exit psychology changed how you see your career, hit that subscribe button. We are dissecting the hidden equations of the 2026 economy every week to help you stop being the product and start being the owner. I'm Joe from fin.stickman, and I will see you in the next one.